Excited to bring on our guest for the evening, our first guest. This young man is a pretty well-established and famous comedian, author, just a great all-around guy, an autism dad. We are happy to bring on Mr. Ron Funches. Ron, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you, Nick? Hi, Liz.
Hi.
Doing awesome, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've been a big fan of the foundation for a long time, so it's nice to meet some of the people behind it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, tell us a little bit. You've been a fan of the foundation for a long time. How did that come to be?
Well, like I said, I'm an autism dad. My son was diagnosed when he was 2 years old, which is about 15 years ago now. And just doing a lot of research for different places. I often found that either you couldn't really some places were really focused on trying to find a cure for autism or trying to deny some things about autism. And what I loved about your foundation, that it was more looking at finding places for these children and their transition and becoming adults and job placement and just making sure they weren't isolated, which is something as my son gets older, as he becomes a teen, is something I'm extremely focused on. So I just looked in your work, and of course I knew who Doug Flutie was and what became, and also I think at the time it just gave me someone else to feel close to, because I didn't, when I learned about autism, I didn't know much about it at all. I didn't have any other people who were autism dads or at all. So when I was like, oh, I know who Doug Flutie is, and his son has autism, and he's doing okay, and he found a way to get out there and support his son, it really gave me a lot of hope when I needed it.
Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, a couple points you bring up is true, right? It's like when Doug and Lori first started the foundation, similar, they back then, it was over, well, Dougie's turning 29, right? In a week or less than a week. And so, there was hardly any services back then when he was first diagnosed. So they really just wanted to kind of give back to the community. But to your point, yeah, that Doug and Lori are always passionate about living in the now. And, they early on decided they didn't, while it's very important that there are organizations doing research, searching for a cure, or, doing research and looking for medicines and that sort of thing. And there's certainly the lane that Doug and Lori chose was, they want to help families and help people affected by autism today, and so that's been kind of our driving force for the whole time. So yeah, good stuff, man. So we, so you did the show Chopped, right? In like 2017. And that was a little before my time here. I just started right at the beginning of 2018, I think. Otherwise, we would have been all over it at the time if we knew. So apologies for that. But then there was a rerun about a month ago or something, and somebody happened to see it and send it to us. So you were on shot, and you chose the Flutie Foundation as the beneficiary. Is that correct?
No, absolutely. Yeah. Anytime that I can donate some of my money or other people's money, preferably, I often give it to you guys. I have different business people and around the holidays are always looking for charities to donate in my name, and I always you guys and another foundation I really enjoy called School on Wheels that helps providing after school care for homeless and at-risk youth is important to me. And so whenever I get a chance to shine a light on you guys, I try to do that.
No, that's incredible. Thanks so much. And the reason behind your support obviously is your son. So if you could tell us a little bit about your son, how old is he? What's his name? What's he into? All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, his name is Malcolm. He's 17 years old, which has been a really fun time because he's been a big rule follower his whole life, which I love. And now that he turned 17, he was like, I can start watching R-rated movies and play M-rated games. And so we've been going, and that was not a rule I set at all. That was his personal rule. So now we've been watching a lot of things together. He's real into 24, and which is, I think, is really great for a 17-year-old. And The Price is Right. His Xbox, he loves racing games. That's his big thing. He loves cars, anything car related. And, he's just the reason why I'm successful at all. If it wasn't for my son, and I think if it wasn't for his autism diagnosis, it wouldn't have given me the motivation and the drive to get to where I am.
Oh, that's amazing, man. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear Malcolm's doing well. Um, so how has the pandemic been for Malcolm, for your family, just in terms of the disruption of the routine and all that? How's that been going for you guys?
Oh, of course, it's been up and down. There's a positives and negatives to all of it. It's been very positive for myself because it was, I traveled a lot doing stand-up comedy. It was nice for me to be settled at home for a while and be with my son. And I got married a few months ago as well. So be with my wife and my son and just hang out together has been a real godsend and something that I didn't really have for many years. I was always on the road 2 or 3 weekends a month. And that's been a real positive. But I also see, again, I just get worried about his isolation, about him just being in his room, and he loved school. It was a great way for him to socialize. He loved his teachers. He loved his classmates, and his teachers are also big fans of him. And so he misses that aspect of it. He was kind of ready for it to be over once the summer was here, and he thought he was going to go back to school in person. So that was a hard conversation for us to have. One thing he does do, and he's always done, that's taught me lessons, that he as rigid as he can be sometimes, he does let go of traditions easily. He does go with the flow as far as like, okay, well, that's the new rule is we wear masks and we don't go out and socialize. That's the rule, and I follow the rule. And in that way, he teaches me a lot to be less emotional or less woe is me about things, and more just be like, well, that's the rule, so that's what we're doing. And once it changes, I'll go back to school and see my friends. And so it's been up and down, but again, as always, he's a big motivation for me.
Love that. Love that. The rule following too keeps him out of trouble a little bit, right? He's just now wanting to get into our movies.
Yeah, no, I couldn't ask for anything better as far as him self-policing himself is
Yeah.
the best. He's a truly excellent kid. He wakes up and first thing he does is empty the dishwasher, and very affectionate as well. So I think I'm truly blessed.
So you also, you're open about, your son's autism diagnosis, and you've kind of you've worked that into some of your comedy routines and that sort of thing. So can you talk about how come, or just sort of why you've chosen to, every parent kind of chooses a different lane and chooses a different way to go about talking about autism or what have you, and can you just talk about why you sort of chosen to be out in public with it and that sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't an easy choice, but my son was diagnosed so long ago, and in my comedy, I don't really do topical jokes. I don't do political things. I'm very personal in my comedy, and my son is a big part of my life, obviously. So I felt like if I was to avoid that topic, that I would be doing him a disservice and myself a disservice. And it took me a while to kind of get comfortable with it because I was worried how people would view it. I was worried that people would think I was making fun of my son or making fun of people with autism or things of that nature. And but what I found out was the opposite, that these jokes that I said, told about my son, were often the ones that people resonated with the most, the ones that people got the most from, the ones where people would DM me after shows and say, I have a family member with autism, or I have autism. And it's just nice to see someone be open and talk about it in a honest but funny way, and not be like, oh, it's pitiful, or oh, it's something I have to overcome, or it's because when I talk about it, it's like, this is my son, he's Malcolm, he happens to have autism, and these are some of the funny things that happen because of it. And I think a lot of people relate to that, and that's kind of been my biggest calling. Like I'm working on writing a show about my son and I, just because I think it's important to have that representation again as my son gets older. I just want to make sure he has a place in the world, and in a place where he can shine and be active, and be a positive and provide things in the world like anybody else wants to.
Yeah, awesome. See now, couple questions. Malcolm, is he Malcolm X?
Yes.
I got the. I saw your Conan show. I'm a big. There was an important book for me as well. I know you said on the Conan show that was an important book in your life. And then when you said your son's name is Malcolm, I figured that was where you named him. So, you know, I have a question about, you know, so your son obviously has autism. He's mixed race. We talk with a lot of parents of all races who have kids with autism, and there's kind of I'm sure you have a lot of worries about raising a son who has autism, and then you have to layer on top of that, you know, potential racism and that sort of thing. Can you talk about that just a little bit? Like, you know, have you talked to him? Do you have extra worries? Can you just kind of talk?
Of course. I just have, I mean, there's worries that you have with any child, and then there's worries they have with a lot of autism children that my wife and I, that's one of the things I love about her, and that she is my wife, because we had conversations months ago where she was just, she goes, we were just in some cafe in Vancouver, and she was like, do you worry about your son finding a spouse or being interested in having dates or things like that? And I was like, yeah, I worry about that every single day. I worry about that. And it was nice to actually have someone to share that with. And yeah, just being a Black man and having a son who is mixed race, of course, and knowing that my son, while he is, again, a rule follower, is not the quickest, not the especially if you were to shout commands at him. He's not the quickest at following commands. And so those are things that deeply concern me. And we do have to have those conversations. And my son, again, as a real follower, has a deep respect and a deep admiration for police. He loves people who are there to protect him. So in some ways, it gets scarier for me that I'm like, well, some of these people might consider you a threat because you're you're getting taller he's taller than me now. And he's, you know, he can be a little rambunctious or stimming. I mean, I guess I don't have to not say these words to you guys. You know, where he might, you know, start making noises or, you know, do things that are out of the normal for them. And those things do concern me, but I just try to raise him as a regular kid and not instill him with fear. I want him to feel that the police are there to protect him just as they are to protect anyone else. But also I have let him know how to act, and also, you know, and I just try to keep him safe and keep him, you know, he's 17, but we still have an off and on nanny that will take him out into the world if he needs a little bit of help. So and I'm just lucky that I'm in that position, basically.
Yeah. Good. So what's two more questions, then we'll wrap this thing up. What's next for you on your, you know, professional life? What are you working on?
Well, I have a show on True TV called Top Secret Videos, which is kind of a fun clip show, which I enjoy, with Brian Posehn and another wonderful comedian named Ali Colbert. And then I'm just shooting a couple pilots that may or may not get picked up. And truly, the thing I've been working on for the past decade, and is just this. I would love to make this show about being a single dad of a son with autism and make it fun and funny and also sweet and lovely for people. And that's kind of like, to me, that's more than like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like, that's been my biggest calling in life, because I don't see that representation in shows. Even if when autism is dealt with in shows, it's often is that, oh, woe is me, this is so tragic, or it's like he's magic and he's a doctor.
Yeah, like the Rain Man thing or whatever. Like, he's a genius. Yeah, totally.
And I want to show more of a realistic, fun world of what that can be for people, and that's my biggest goal. And hopefully, I mean, that's kind of out of my control, but that's what I work towards every day.
Awesome, man. And so are you a gamer? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you're a big gamer?
Huge.
And your son's a gamer. Malcolm's a gamer then too?
He's a big gamer, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice. Cool. Good to hear. My son I was never a big gamer, but man, my son's, especially during the pandemic, it's like Actually, it's good because like there's now all these games where you're playing socially with other people, so it's a good way to
Yeah.
connect with other
No,
people.
I love that for him as well. And I just love games, and it's a good way for us to bond. And before all of this, it was one of our favorite things when I would come home from a weekend on the road. Usually on Sundays, I'd rest for a little bit, and then we'd go off to some dusty garage sale or some swap meet, and we'd go find some retro video games, and we'd do that. And I mean, that's one of the things I miss most this year is taking my son out every weekend to go find some old GameCube or NES games. And that's also what I love about him, because he doesn't like that, he loves the newest and the greatest as well, but he's just as happy playing like a Nintendo 64. So he's a real
Yeah,
gamer.
throw a little Zelda in there or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Like it, like it. Liz, did we hit everything? You got any questions?
Yeah, we're just so grateful that you could be on the show. We really love your passion, your message, and just FYI, we will be ready to share any of your work that happens. We love your story. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, that means a lot to me, Liz. I appreciate that. And again, I just thank you guys for reaching out, and I love your work, and I'm happy to support you guys anytime I can.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll stay in touch, Ron. Hey, thanks so much. And tell Malcolm we said hello and congrats on being married now, too.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You guys have a lovely day, and happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays, and happy birthday to Dougie.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. That's right. Thanks, Ron. Ron Funches, ladies and gentlemen. Hit like, hit love, show him your support.